Faerun, a land of magic and intrigue, cruel violence and divine compassion, where millennia of warfare and conquest have shaped dozens of unique cultures. There are rare beings of unnatural abilities that border on the line of deity and the paranormal. Those who share knowledge of these beings have come to refer to them as Espers.
Our setting takes place in a region known as the Silver Marches, where a confederation of cities in the north of Faerun share an uneasy truce and border with the orc-ruled kingdom of Many Arrows. In recent days, a number of orc tribes have broken off from the kingdom, bringing their hatred and savagery into the surrounding lands. Nestled in the center of all of this, the city-state of Silvery Moon has deployed its famed knights in silver in defense of the region. Though as the campaign drags on into its 6th month, the hierarchy grows desperate for an immediate solution. Our adventure begins underneath the very city of Silvery Moon, more accurately speaking, within the confines of one of its dungeons. These dark, musty, solitary cells each of you currently reside have been home for an undetermined amount of time. Upon your sentencing to this prison, you've each been branded with a unique mark behind your left ear, though you're unsure of its true meaning. Your weeks, months, years blur together with seemingly routine inspections and meals unfit for a rodent. Although today is different. You hear a door open up down the hallway as several footsteps march their way through the space. A group of guards stop at each of your cells. They hurriedly clamp manacles upon your wrists, ankles, and neck. A pair of guards escort each of you down the hall, then to the right into a small room where you are forced to your knees. Shortly after, 2 additional beings enter the room. The first, an elven male with long black hair and pale complexion. He's adorned in quality red garb and silver trimmings. The second, a human male of mahogany skin tone. He's bald, with a thick patch of dark hair lining his chin, almost mimicking a lion's mane. He's adorned in well-maintained silver armor with a crescent moon fashioned into his chest piece. The human rounds a small table near the center of the room, while the elf approaches you with an unraveled scroll in hand. Swift foot of the dancing rain. Imprisoned for 98 counts of theft, 14 counts of burglary, and 1 count of grand larceny, currently serving a 19-year sentence.
Yes, you have the right one. How can I help you?
Morgana Mall, aka the Red Bitch, imprisoned for 7 counts of burglary, forgery of official documents, 41 counts of identity theft, blackmailing the Duke of Bolmar, and conspiracy to abduct Magister Edmir, currently serving a 27-year sentence.
You make it sound like it's a bad thing.
Berlai Kronmir, aka the Soul Eater, imprisoned for the disappearance of 468 persons from the village of Darkwell, currently serving a life sentence. Too lenient, I say. Should have put you to death.
I already told you it wasn't my fault.
A person of my position shouldn't even breathe the same air as any of you. Most people only know of you as con artists, urchins, murderers. But I know of you what you truly are. Freaks. The human clears his throat. Right. The purpose for our visit is to offer you an opportunity, one that may shave time from your sentence. The elf turns and gestures toward the armored human. Balcris, if you would. Here's what you need to know. The orcs have invaded the Silver Marches. the Magrakasi, believes that your unique abilities could serve us. These said abilities will help me kill Mobhad Death Spear, an orc war chief leading these roving bands. Simple. You Espers can't be trusted within our society, but you can certainly make do as weapons. Now, regardless of your choice, either you accept to take part of this honor or decline and return to your cell. Of course, declining may grant you special attention from the warden. What say you?
Anything to get free running space.
Doesn't mean I get to look at your gorgeous face all day, love.
I just want to see my brother again.
Of course, there is just one extra stipulation. We can't just have all of you running free about the lands.
Oh, but then what am I for?
You'll see. He unravels a scroll and begins reading it in a low mumble, though it slowly builds up as the words become audible until he finishes with a single shout. Bind. There's a sudden flash of reddish arcane energy that lashes out toward each of you and to the mahogany-skinned human. A burning sensation is felt across your wrists and neck as thin red arcane scars streak across your skin, though after a few moments they fade away. All right, Balkris, how about a test? The human reaches out with a single palm and speaks. Heal. It's at that moment, the red arcane scars reappear and an unseen force seemingly pulls your wrists and chest and causes your knees to buckle. Haha, it works. The elven snaps his fingers and motions towards the door as he and the guards exit. You should take a moment to count your blessings before each of you perish. Disappears. My apologies for Horin. He's untrusting of your kind. He's also kind of a bastard. Over there, you'll find a chest of all the gear you had when you were arrested. Get dressed. Nightfall is approaching. We have a ways to travel, and I'm sure you'll have questions. Shortly after this, Balkris leads your trio down a spiraling staircase, through a lengthy tunnel of stone, and then into a small forest. It is dark. Peering up through the silhouette of trees, you see the starry night sky and a distant half moon. A few minutes down this path, Balkris leads your group to a large river, where two figures are tending to a small boat. Thanks, I'll take it from here. Balkris pushes off and begins drifting, following the river's current. We'll be making our way downstream the Ravin River for a while. It's best to get the introductions out of the way. As I mentioned, I'm Balkris.
Swiftfoot. You know I could travel there much faster on my own.
I'm aware, but I need to keep my eyes on you. That is our arrangement.
Challenge accepted.
It's red, bitch. But if you really want to know, I'm known as Morgana Mall. Oh, you want more information?
That's up to you. Obviously, you're working with these two as well.
Who said I'm working with them? They were just handed over to me. You guys bound us together?
Unfortunately, I have orders I must follow, and that is all there is to it.
I don't follow no one's orders but my own, sweet cheek.
We shall see. And you, Dark One.
Why are we even here? What are we doing?
As I mentioned, a number of orc tribes have invaded the Silver Marches. They've been razing all of the smaller villages to the ground. We have a large number of refugees making their way to the larger cities. If this continues on, there will be mass starvation. We are currently on the way to Orr's Rest, a small hamlet. I have a friend I'm meeting there who has information on our target.
I was gonna say, like halfway through his speech, he would have just like found a butterflyers.
So as Balkris is talking, you're just any little thing that comes along, and you do spot even in the night sky you do spot like a stray butterfly, but it's more so like fireflies that are in the air.
He's a little spastic, no?
I've heard of what he can do, so I'm confident that he'll come through.
Does he like hears you? What?
Don't worry about it. You continue downstream for about 3 hours. I want each of you to make a perception check.
Woohoo! Can I just use my passive? 12.
Mine's 10.
And mine's 13.
Balkris and Swift. There's a bitter unpleasant odor in the air. While it's currently faint, you quickly recognize it as the scent of burning wood.
Starts looking around for any light in the sky.
Your attention shifts as a thick, billowing pillar of smoke comes into view, its features prominent even against the night sky. Valkyrie leans forward in the boat with a noticeable look of concern. We have to investigate. Our contact could still be in there. Within about 5 minutes or so, your boat pulls up to the dock, and Valkyrie's motions for everyone to get out. Split up and look for survivors. Don't get any ideas, though. So he shows his hand. A very familiar little arcane sigil is there. This enchantment allows me to track where you are. So once you get too far away, I will you back over here. Now go.
What is this distance in which we can...
He's gonna run.
You'll know.
Okay. And at that time, like without any further extraction, he'll just...
So literally the last thing you guys see is just that blur left behind.
Well, Burley, it just looks like it's me and you.
Please don't call me Burley.
Aw, but it's so cute.
A few minutes later, as they're walking toward it, I come back with a burning stick. I think I found it.
Like, yeah, trying to hold, like, it's always hard.
Is this it?
The hamlet is ablaze. The transition from the river into the thick haze is an unpleasant one. Your senses are engulfed in this heavy, choking fog. While you guys are in this hamlet, what are you guys doing?
I'm looking for anybody who is alive.
Sure, give me a perception check. With disadvantage, because the smoke is clogging your senses.
Disadvantage. 9.
As you make your way in, the haze is so heavy that you're not really able to pick up on anything. All right, and the rest of you?
At that point, I just go into the closest building and just see if I can look around.
As you come to one of the doors, you notice that this door is jammed shut with a weapon or some kind of blunt object. As you get a little closer, you hear the discordant vocals of people screaming from within. I mean, would you like to try to open it or what?
Yeah, I definitely want to try to open it. I will use my crowbar.
Go ahead and give me a strength check, and with the crowbar, advantage.
All right, my strength. So was that 6 plus 3, so 9.
As you go ahead, you slam the crowbar into the door, and you apply that pressure, that leverage, and the door flings open. A handful of humans come stumbling through the doorway. They stop short, getting a look at you, but they continue through, edging their way by you. So when they go by, they look outside. Are they still here? Are they still here?
Who's still here? Who are you talking about?
It's at that moment. First GM roll. Burlau, that's 17 versus your AC. What's your AC?
7. I think my AC is 16.
You hear an arrow fly through the air and hit you right into the shoulder, hit you right into your clavicle. You take 5 piercing damage. You look up above, and there are 2 orcs armed with bows firing down at you. So it's at that moment you guys hear Burlau grunt in pain. And at that exact same time, you hear 3 other orcs are making their way into the space from the opposite side of the river. What we're going to go ahead and do is roll for initiative. What'd you guys get?
I got a 3.
19 plus 20.
I got a 13.
First up in the initiative is an orc with a mohawk. It's going to be up above you, Burlau, as it's going to go ahead and take another shot in your direction with the bow. 4 plus 3, it's a 7. I believe that's a miss, as that arrow just streaks by and hits you to the ground. He's going to try to pull back a little bit to be a little bit out of your line of sight. Morgana, it's your turn. What is your intent? What do you want to do?
I would like to sneak around behind one of the buildings, try to go on the backside, and take them out that way.
Go ahead and give me a d20. You're going to add your stealth to that.
No.
Oh, there.
So 19.
Move it!
Can't nobody see you.
Morgana, as far as you know, no one sees you as you
Nice.
make your way all the way around behind the burning building that Burlau's in front of, and you go ahead and at least begin climbing up.
The itsy bitsy spider's gonna take out these orcs.
Lovely. There's an orc with an ugly scar that's making its way into town. It does lay eyes on you as it's going to go ahead, pull out a javelin and throw it in your direction. 5, 18 towards you.
Hits.
All right, so the javelin sails through the air. Actually, from this distance, it's still a little hazy from where you are, so it's going to roll that with disadvantage. 6 plus 5, That's an 11.
Does not hit.
All right, so you just see the silhouette of a javelin come through, and you just immediately get out of the way. The next one, there's another orc with a bluish tint, which is actually up above you as well. Rolls a 10, so another arrow just flies down, misses you. Swift, it is your turn. What's your intent?
Okay, so I'm going to try and run across the alleyway to Burley, and with a free action, look at him, look up at the roof, going, "Do you need some help? They tend to be poking at you." And then continue my climb from there, the rest of my movement up.
It's easy for you to get up, 30 feet of movement. You have 10 feet movement left.
I'm going to then throw a punch, and then take my 10 feet and go to the next guy and throw another punch.
Okay, go ahead, go and roll 2 attacks.
Boom. 21.
21 is a hit.
And 10-foot step to my second attack, and I got a 17 on that one.
Dash over and appear by Burlisle, say something really clever to him, and you dash right up, and you strike the first one, and then dash over the other one and strike him as well.
So 7 for the first one, the blue guy. For the second guy, 8.
So with your claws, you strike at both of them. The first one you leave claw marks on his face, the other one you come across and you strike across his chest. They're almost unable to really even keep up with what the hell just happened. Next is an orc with a chipped tooth that was aiming for Swift, but lost track of him. Sees Burlisle, is going to make his way up and throw a javelin in his direction. It's cocked. And it has a disadvantage because of the distance. 11.
No.
All right, so you see the silhouette of a javelin come your way, and it just collides right into the building next to you. There's another one an orc that's extra smelly, makes his way up to throw a javelin at you as well for 10, as the other one just sails over. Now your attention is diverted, and you see there are 3 orcs making their way into town, opposite side of the river, and of course, 2 orcs above you. Burlisle, is your turn. What are you doing?
Okay, at this point, pull that arrow right out, throw it on the ground, see the ones that threw the javelins at me, and the initial one that did that, I'm going to use my chill touch.
Now, at your current range, you are disadvantaged, but if you want, you can use up a little movement to get a little closer.
And that I will do. Yeah.
And because you have Reaper, you can actually roll that twice and attack. There's another orc right next to him.
I'm going to attack both of them. Yes,
so go ahead and make 2 checks.
What? Epic fail.
But you still get the other attack.
Okay. And 7. 12.
Reach out. These special hands begin reaching out from the ground. They see it, they freak out, and they kind of get a little bit of a distance. Back to the orc with the mohawk, which is actually on the roof with you. Pulled out his great axe as a great action, or free action. That is 18 to hit for you.
Hits.
Gets you for 9 slashing damage. Morgana, what are you doing?
I climb up right behind the 2 orcs. Am I able to do a sneak attack on one?
Because you're stealth, you'll be able to attack with advantage.
So then I will do that.
There's one with the mohawk and there's one with the bluish tint.
I'm gonna do the one with the mohawk, cause yeah.
No explanation needed.
That's good enough for me. Fuck those mohawks.
Both
All right,
5.
then.
As you make your way up and you essentially try to stealth them with your wrist crossbow, it flies out, but it just misses right by getting his attention, because now they're looking at you.
Did it at least cut his hair?
It didn't even touch his gorgeous mane. Anything else for your turn? You still have your bonus action.
I like to try to hide.
So go ahead and give me a stealth check.
3.
Somehow, one of them does not see you as you essentially come back, start hanging off the edge of the building, but the one with the mohawk still sees you. Probably because you shot at him. Next is the one with the scar, which is going to go ahead and close the gap to you, Burlisle. As it swings with its great axe and it goes right over, you dodge underneath it. Duck underneath.
Dive, dip, dodge. I'm sorry.
The next one with the blue tint has no sight of you, Morgana, but right next to you is going to go ahead, swing his great axe at you with advantage, because it's still flanked. 11 plus 5, 16 to hit.
16 is my armor class.
You take another 9 slashing damage. Swift, it is your turn.
I am going to claw, and then disengage.
Go ahead and make the 2 attacks.
Okay, so the blue guy, 13 hit,
13 does hit.
and then the mohawk, 14.
14 does hit. For the blue one, after he brings his great axe down, it slices into you. You just spin around him really fast, cut into his back. It's a deep enough cut where he just sinks down into the ground. The only one left is the one with the mohawk, who's looking pretty rough. Orc with a chipped tooth comes up to you, closes the gap, 20 to hit.
Damn it. Ouch. Yeah, that totally got me.
For 9 slashing damage. And the orc who apparently is very smelly, and you're just now getting a whiff of it as he closes in to you as well for a 23 to hit.
Of course that hits me.
And that's another 9 slashing damage. Burlisle, it's your turn with 3 orcs crowding around you.
I'm going to use my necrotic shroud.
Burlisle, your eyes go completely black, and suddenly this black aura erupts from around you, and a single black wing spreads out. This black aura engulfs all of the orcs as they're going to go ahead and make, wisdom saving throws. So the orc that has that awful smell, the orc with the chipped tooth, you noticeably see them shaking their boots a little bit. The other orc, though, with the nasty scar, is still maintaining his ground. At the top of this new round, coming through the haze, you watch as Balcris comes into the fray with his longsword and is thrusting toward the orc closest to him, the one with the scar. Oh, and that's a natural 20!
Wow.
So as he comes up right behind the other one, slashes into him for 9 damage. And he's going to make a second attack against him. Another natural 20! 2 natural 20s. Balcris is kicking ass already. Deals 11 damage, and he fells that orc, the orc with the scar. Next is the orc with the mohawk, which is right next to you. Swings his great axe in your direction. 14, 19 to hit.
Hits.
All right, and that deals 9 slashing damage. Angry that you've scarred it twice now, has brought his great axe down to you, and it cuts right to your clavicle. It's a deep cut. Comes around to Morgana. You're currently hanging off the edge of the building. What are you doing?
Since I know that the one with the mohawk has seen me, I try to go after it with my crossbow again.
You load another bolt. Go ahead and give me an attack.
10.
10 total.
13. Oh, 13, sorry.
13 does hit. And because he's within 5 feet, you get to add your sneak attack damage.
I got more of them if you need.
1,
nice.
6, 4,
Nice.
13.
13.
Peeking your way back up and you fire your wrist crossbow. He's just slammed his axe into Swift, and Swift cries out in pain as suddenly a bolt slams right into the square of his back, and his body tenses up and he falls over backward.
Next time he should second guess that mohawk.
Yeah, that's what killed him. So Swift, orc with mohawk has just gone down. Looking over the edge, you do see now Balcris and Burlisle engaging these final 2 orcs. What are you doing?
Take a few steps past the orcs that are slowly backing up if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Pull out my spear and jump down.
Jumping down right on top of them, I'll give you advantage because of their proximity.
Woo! There you go. 16 in total.
Burlisle, you've just seen Balcris make his way up. He fells one of the orcs, and then coming down from above with a spear, stabbing right into another orc as it cuts deep and along his backside. You still have your bonus action. What are you doing?
I will go into spend my second key point in for patient defense.
You go into a low standing squat, bringing your spear up in a defensive maneuver. Next is the orc with the chipped tooth. He is going to go ahead and attempt to disengage because he is currently feared. So he disengages. He's already making his way out of the village. The orc with the foul odor is going to use his action to disengage as well. Uses movement, so now they're both about 45 feet away from your group. Burlisle, what are you doing? So they're about 45 feet away. You can see them making their way out of the way they came.
I'm going to use my chill touch and try to catch both of them.
So this will be with disadvantage.
Yeah.
Nice.
So 18, but I got to use this. This is for one of them, so I got to use the 10.
Plus 5.
Plus 5.
So that one. So that hits. So next.
20.
It's got to be lower.
Really? Not even a natural 20?
Yeah, it's got
for disadvantage.
Oh my
take
god.
The lower roll.
16 and then plus 5, so 19.
All right.
21. So.
Okay. So
I catch both of them. All right. So 4 and 1d8 plus 3, so 11.
As these special hands now reaching out once again, now they have like a blackish aura on them as well. One of them grabs onto one of the orcs, the one with the chipped tooth, grabs onto him, and you watch as he suddenly gets pulled into the ground and disappears. The second one, his leg gets caught up as the black hands begin reaching out and grabbing onto him, taking the 4 damage. Back to the top of the round, Balcris is not going to be able to make his way over there in time, is going to pull out his crossbow. He's going to fire at him with disadvantage. He actually does hit with the crossbow. Fires at him for 6 damage. Morgana, you're still on top of the roof, and now you're watching this commotion going on. And the remaining orc is trying to run away, making his way out of town.
Is there a distance difference if I'm on top of the roof versus if I jump on the ground?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you want, you can use your movement to get a little closer.
Okay.
Using your movement, using your bonus action, leaping off the roof, dashing towards this orc to get just enough within about 15 feet. Go ahead and give me the attack.
12. 15.
Hit. Go ahead and roll the damage. Single d6 plus 1.
2.
2. Which is just enough. As he's trying to crawl away as the black hands are gripping onto him. He's fighting it as suddenly it sinks right into his chest. He seizes up, and the black hands finish the job as they pull him into the ground as well. You now have taken a moment to look at Burlisle, who has this strange black aura, and his eyes are completely blank white. Valkyris looks to you. Is this going to be a problem?
At which point I just kind of calm down, slink down, just grab my shoulder again. Shroud just kind of dissipates, my eyes just kind of fade back to normalcy, and I just...
Valkyris takes a moment to look around, and he sees the one door that's open. He sees the other 2 doors that are closed, and they also have similar objects jammed into them. We should hurry up and do something about those doors. Valkyris runs to one door. What are you guys doing?
I'll hobble along to another one.
Valkyris makes his way along, charges, slams into one of the doors, and an elderly man comes hobbling out of the space. You go to a door, give me a strength check.
Woohoo! 19.
That was a natural 20 rolling.
No, it is a natural 20.
Oh, the natural 20 is natural 20.
I have a -1 on my strength.
You can have negative 20. Natural 20 is natural 20.
Okay, then natural 20.
You bolt to the other door, forgetting to stop, and you collide to the door just gets burst off the hinges, and you disappear into the house and come out the other side. Stop, and you realize you missed it, but coming out...
Too far.
Coming out of the other door is a elven woman with 2 children coming out the other side. The remaining civilians, essentially, in this town space, getting out to get as much air as they possibly can. So, at this point, what are the rest of you doing?
I'll kind of like huddle the ones that followed me out, I'm assuming, and kind of lead them out to the front where the old man and the rest of them are.
You go to assist them. You're Tabaxian. You're a little different from what they're used to, but you're not an orc, and that means a lot. That means something here. So they follow with you toward the center of town.
I would like to make sure that there's no other injured people within any of the buildings.
Sure, give me an investigation check.
And then plus your investigation.
15.
Taking a moment to go ahead and take stock of everything, you call out for other individuals, no other voices call back. You see that there are a number of bodies spread out throughout the hamlet on the ground, about a half dozen human bodies slumped over, and each of them are pierced with a handful of arrows. One thing you do notice, standing out amongst all these bodies, upon closer examination, there are no adult males within this group.
So seniors and children?
Women, children, and elderly. One figure that does stand out, while everyone else is wearing standard clothing, there is one individual who seems to be wearing a hood and cloak. In his hand, you do find a folded up piece of parchment.
Let's see what he was writing in his diary before he died.
You open it up and it reads, "Target makes their way southeast toward the ruins of Kars."
I wish we hadn't killed all the Zors. Something definitely is going on here, and we need to find out exactly what.
But in the meantime, we should get everyone out of this hamlet. Things burning to the ground. You guys take this moment to lead these remaining villagers away from the smoke and outside the hamlet. Now you're watching as the rest of it is slowly burning to the ground. Did anyone find anything? Any other survivors? Any clues?
I might have found something, but what's it worth to you?
How about your life?
You'd think that'd be a bargaining chip, but not always.
Did you find something or not?
If you say please.
Oh, Red Woman, you are going to be the death of me. Please.
Most likely, yes.
Please.
That's all you had to say. Just proper manners.
I hand over the scroll.
While you're looking at that, I kneel down to your fallen contact, and I just start saying a prayer. May he walk to the gates of the underworld and make safe passage.
Looks like our target's making their way for the ruins of Kars. If we're to get to Mobhad, we'll have to continue down the Ravin River, through the high forest, and into a section known as the Dire Wood. If we can take down Mobhad, innocent people like this won't have to suffer any more needless deaths. At that point, some of the villagers kind of begin asking, where are we supposed to go? And the nearest village was supposed to be Darkwell, but that's not there anymore.
Find what you can salvage and head downriver.
I wish there was more we could do for you. Unfortunately, we do have a task of our own.
I pull one of the villagers aside. Just, what do you know about Darkwell?
Darkwell? Not much, unfortunately. Just, there was some kind of accident and everyone disappeared. The only people who survived were those who lived on the outskirts. But not much news came out of there. So at that point, Valkyris leads you all back to the boat. And you guys push off, making your way back into the river's current. Or's Rest, or what's left of it, begins to disappear from view. A hamlet left with nothing but fear and uncertainty. Ahead of you is your own path of uncertainty. A task that feels like a chance at death than it does at redemption. You sail on into the night, curious of what the dawn will bring. And that's where we'll go ahead and end this session.